and welcome to my evening devotional. This week I continue talking about digging wells, and we saw a few wells in the Old Testament. We're going to continue to see these. They were very important wells, and there's this story where Jacob was sent by his father Isaac to find a wife from a relative's family. And he met Rachel, and this was love at first sight. So today I would like to talk about the well near Haran. Jacob arrived in the land of the eastern peoples, where he saw a well with 3 flocks of sheep laying near it. So Jacob watched as the shepherds rolled a stone off the mouth of the well. When the sheep approached after the sheep were watered, the shepherds rolled a stone back over the mouth of the well, this to prevent contamination. So Jacob approached the shepherds and inquired where they were from, and they told Jacob that they were from Haran. That was Jacob's destination. And he asked them, "Do you know Laban, Nahor's grandson? Is this his well?" And the shepherds confirmed that they knew Laban and that indeed the well belonged to him. At that moment, Laban's daughter, Rachel, approached the well with some sheep, and Jacob told the shepherds, "The sun is still high. It is not time for the flocks to be gathered. Why don't you water the sheep and take them back to the pasture?" And the shepherds replied, "We can't until all the flocks are gathered and the stone has been rolled away from the mouth of the well. Then we will water the sheep." Let's read our scripture for tonight in Genesis chapter 29, verses 10 and 11. "Now, as soon as Jacob saw Rachel, the daughter of Laban, his mother's brother, and the sheep of Laban, his mother's brother, Jacob came near and rolled a stone from the well's mouth and watered the flock of Laban's, his mother's brother. Then Jacob kissed Rachel and wept aloud." This is quite an amazing story of love at first sight. And while Jacob talked with the shepherds and Rachel approached the well with her sheep, Jacob rolls the stone away of the mouth. He waters his uncle's sheep for her, and then Jacob kisses her and told her that he was a relative of her father. By other ways, he was making some advances on her. So Rachel ran from the well to her father as soon as Laban heard the news about Jacob's arrival, and he rushed to meet him. And Laban embraced Jacob, kissed him, took him back to his home, and Laban told Jacob, "Indeed, you are my own flesh and blood." So this is a story of close family, the cousins. In those days, it's common for cousins to get married. They're just in the land, and Jacob's mother, we know, Rebekah, met with the Abrahams also at the well. Now Jacob meets Rachel at the well, and later in the Bible, Moses will meet Zipporah at a well also. So we know the importance of wells to bring life, but here we see a pattern where the well is also the place of encounter, is where these couples meet up. And Rachel once said that if she didn't have children, that she will die, and ironically, she died after having her second child. Benjamin was Rachel's first son, and Joseph will end up being critically important for the people of Israel to survive after the famine that was in the land, and the family had to go to Egypt to survive this time. So a well is in Scripture not just but as we see in the pattern, the well is the place of encounter where these families are formed, And so well is then mentioned later. And if you read in Proverbs chapter 5, verse 15, Solomon said, drink water from your own cistern, running water from your own well. And he's talking about having sexual relations within the context of marriage. So in symbolic language, the well refers in a marriage to your own family, to your own marriage, to your wife, to your husband. And Solomon says, well, drink from your own well. Don't go around fooling around drinking from other wells or having relations that are outside your marriage. In the New Testament, in Ephesians chapter 5 and verses 25 and 29, Paul told to love your wife, to nourish her like your own body. So as water is essential to life, is also mentioned in the context of an intimate relationship of wife. In this context, the water that flows, the water that brings life, of course, is the love you have with other, but your wife is like your own well. I happen to have a very important encounter in my life at a fountain, a small well, and that's how I started dating my wife. So I met her by a river, and then the well was important. A coincidence? Maybe it was. But I know that in life God will allow certain what we call holy coincidences in order for us to learn something. Jacob, Isaac, Abraham, they all met their wives in wells or close to a well. So the well in this biblical symbolical language has this connotation with a relationship, an intimate relationship between husband and wife. Your well is your source, is your covenant, is where your loyalties are. It's where you depend on in order to provide for provision, for watering, to bring resources. So in the spiritual sense, if you have a relationship, if you're married, maybe you're not, but if you are, this is one of the spiritual meanings of the well. And if you're not, also the well, it's the point of encounter. So you can pray to God if you're single and tell God, show me the well, show me where to go, show me where to meet my loved one. And notice that it's both for men and women. So the well is where they meet up. It's the point of encounter. It's where their lives start. So if you're single and if you're lonely, try to find God's well, that specific well where you'll meet the person that God prepared for you. And if you already did and you're married, do like Solomon did. Drink from your own well. Don't fool around. Don't try to go around and try other things, because that's not what was intended for you. God gave you that person, and you need to learn how to be loyal and how to drink from the well that God gave you. Tomorrow, we're going to continue to learn about wells and digging wells. And we will see some wells that were already dug, but we need to find them. We're going to learn about living waters. And yes, living waters are waters that move, are seen as waters that move, but they can be also waters from a well. So that's what we're going to see tomorrow. This was my evening devotional. I hope you've enjoyed it. God bless you. I'll see you here again tomorrow at 9 p.m.